Redditors who go into people's houses for their job. What is the strangest/creepiest thing you've ever seen or experienced?
When I was in college, I was a pizza delivery driver for a small local pizzeria in a very upscale area. I saw some weird and or cool stuff, but this one stands out. This takes place over a couple of weeks. While not out on a delivery, the drivers answer the phones to take orders. I took an order from an obviously drunk man. Fast forward a few days, and take another order from the same guy. Again, he is very drunk. A few days later, I come into work and there is a message posted by the phones to not take orders from the address of the drunk guy. He had written bad checks to pay for the pizzas he had ordered. He calls again. Drunk. I tell him we cannot take his order because of the bad checks. He begs me. It sounds like he is crying. I say it's okay if he pays cash. He says he will. Another driver gets sent with the pizza and instructions to only accept cash. About 20 minutes later, the driver calls to say that the guy doesn't have any cash. The guy wants the driver to bring him to an ATM. I tell the driver just to come back. When the driver gets back, he's almost in tears. The guy is pathetic. He's wasted drunk and there are bottles scattered all over his beautiful place. I put the pizza on top of the oven, since after the shift we get to eat the mistakes. The guy calls back. He's crying, begging for food. I tell him there's nothing I can do. He says he hasn't eaten in however long. Again, I buckle and tell him I'll give him the pizza after the shift if nobody wants to eat it. A few hours later, the pizza is still on the oven, so I drive it over to the guy's house. I knock on the door. I can hear something going on inside but no answer. As I turn to leave, the door opens and the guy invites me in. I try to decline. I just want to give him the food and leave, but he insists he wants to pay me. We walk into the kitchen and there must be 100 empty vodka bottles. He pours himself another vodka and he gets his checkbook. He offers me a drink and I decline. He apologizes for the way he answered the door. He said hookers have been coming over and stealing from him. In the middle of writing the check, we are making small talk. I don't recall exactly how, but I try to tell him he needs to get some help, rehab. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door and gets really scared and shushes me. He said it's probably a hooker coming back to steal more. The door opens and a woman walks in. I'm really freaked now, thinking it's a murderous hooker. She's obviously freaked by my presence. It's his wife. She tells me she's his wife and wants to know who the fuck I am. I tell her I'm just delivering pizza. Once we get everything sorted out, she's a bit dubious, but pleasant. She tells me the guy's sad story. He fell off the wagon, so she left him and knows all about the hookers, etc., and has frozen his money. She writes me a personal check for the pizza with a generous tip, which I cashed in after giving the pizza place its cut, split the tip with the other driver, Abu T $10 each. Fast forward a few days. I'm back at work and the boss hands me a letter. It is from the woman thanking me to my boss. My kindness convinced her husband to go back into rehab. My boss asked what was I thinking. It was none of my business to get involved, got fired. DLDR, felt sorry for guy on 2-week bender. Get fired for my trouble. Edit, I just wanted to add a thanks to everybody for all of the kind comments and clarify a few things that in my attempt to keep it short may have been unclear. 1. I was never quite sure why I got fired. I know it had to do with this, but in general my boss was a good boss and very open-minded. It was a dodgy situation that I got a driver into and I walked into a dodgy situation too, even though it was on my own time. What I remember most clearly about the conversation when I was shown the letter and fired was that my boss said that it was none of my business. 2. I didn't really do as much as I should have to encourage the guy to get help. I was in an uncomfortable situation with a drunk and I didn't want to piss him off. I think his estranged wife showing up when she did with a third, neutral person there was probably more influential than anything said.